So I cannot say enough about the importance of light, okay? Let there be light, right? You remember that? Well, there was a reason for that, because light is the basic component from which all life originates. Plants, amoeba, archaea, everything needs light. Light helps create energy. Energy helps communication with the body. Very, very, very important that we get light and in the right place. And honestly, light and health are inseparable. So when I said that there are things that might be more important than food, this was one of them. You can be eating all the best food, have all your light cycles screwed up, you are still not going to be in your best health. Now, certain foods bring the energy of sunlight to our bodies, right? And everything, we are electrical beings. We are built of light and energy and magnetism and that kind of stuff. So certain things bring that energy to our bodies, like plants. We plant a seed, the sun warms it, it sprouts, it grows through photosynthesis. All of the nutrients develop in that plant, and then either us or animals eat the plant. That's how nature intended things to be. So we get our light energy from the sun, but also from our foods. And when we overcook foods, we destroy a lot of that light energy. So some foods really, really should not be too overcooked. Now, us as beings, we have really managed to distance ourselves and disconnect ourselves from sources of light. If you think about it, we wake up in the morning, most of us are getting in our car, we're either driving to work or taking a bus or a train or whatever. We get to work, we're sitting under fluorescent lights all day, we have a computer glaring in our face, which is sucking our life force out, indoor lights, sunglasses, sunscreen, contact lenses, tanning lotions, and then, bad food, and all of this stuff is really sucking out our vital energy. And what we really need is we really need light to our retina. And I'm going to be talking a little more about that in a minute. But I do want to touch upon one really electron-rich food that if you're somebody who just doesn't get enough vitamins, I would say that a green superfood with spirulina and chlorella would be a great addition to your diet to make sure that you are getting the most of that. Spirulina is an amazing, amazing food. And for the small life form that it is, it has a ton of nutrition. It is an extremely electron-rich superfood. But not only that, ounce for ounce, it actually has more protein than meat, and it has quite a bit of active forms of B vitamins. Plus, it's got a lot of minerals from the ocean because that's where it grows. It's an algae. It's a blue-green algae. So that's a really, really good food to incorporate if you're someone that just doesn't get enough vegetables or doesn't get the right nutrition. Spirulina is a very nice addition to that. Water is so important that it probably could have its own training, but we can't do that for tonight. I'm just going to touch base on some of the important things I think you might need to know about water. Now, water and dehydration or hydration are extremely important to the tissues. Remember, we're electrical beings. So some of the conductors of electricity are minerals, salt, right, sodium, water, electrons, right, electricity. All of these things work together to pass signals from one cell to the other. And it really does make a difference what type of water you drink. Now, if you get water right out of your tap, some people's water is fluoridated, and fluoride can cause problems with teeth. It can cause problems with your brain. It is not something you want your child drinking because it could lead to developmental problems. In the Nazi German camps, they put fluoride in the water to dumb people down. Okay, so it's not good for our health. It's not good in your toothpaste. You don't want fluoridated water. The next best thing, it's not the best, but the next best thing would be to filter that tap water. And you will take a lot of the fluoride out and a lot of the chemicals. We're actually drinking other people's medications all the time in tap water. So we really do need to filter it to get some of that stuff out, because people pour things down the toilet or they pee them out, and it all kind of goes the same place. So when we filter water, there is some benefit to that, but it also filters out all the good minerals that we need. So if we are going to drink water that is filtered, like reverse osmosis or the pure filters or the one like I have in my refrigerator, I have to add mineral drops to that. And I use a brand called Trace Minerals. Concentrace actually is what it's called. And they're just little mineral drops that I put in my water. I can put them in anything I drink if I want to do that. And then I've always got the minerals that my body needs to do its job. The best kind of water to drink is actually spring water. Now, a lot of people think these days, oh, alkaline water is the best. Well, it depends. I mean, spring water is pretty alkaline, and it's alkaline because it contains minerals. So no matter what water you have, if you have minerals for the water, you will lower the alkalinity and pH. I'm sorry, you will raise the alkalinity and pH. That was a mistake. In the water, you will create a higher pH because those minerals are alkalizing. So you can alkalize your own water. They even have wands that do that, but really you want to put the minerals in. That is the most important thing. When it comes to meats, you want to make sure that you don't overcook meat, because as you overcook meat, you are killing that animal's life energy. And then when you eat it, you're pretty much just getting a dead source of protein. So not that I'm saying eat raw hamburger or eat raw meat. No, I don't mean that. But overcooking meat when you eat it is just a bad practice. It is not healthy. And if you're charring that meat, that is actually cancer causing. That causes glycation. We talked about that in the last training. So want to make sure that your meat does have a little pink in the middle. Just get it from a quality source, and that should take care of that. Now, there are actually three types of light: UVA, UVB, UVC. We won't even be talking about UVC tonight, but how do UVA and UVB light really affect our health? Well, if we look at UVB and what it stands for, think of it this way. The ultraviolet B, think burn, okay? UVB, those are the rays that burn you. And UVA are the rays that age you. So when we get too much of both, we burn and we age and our skin looks pretty bad. But human beings were meant to get sunlight because we do a lot of things with that. We bring light and electrons into our body. Yes, we do that. But also UVA light helps the body to make vitamin D in conjunction with cholesterol. So cholesterol is important to help make vitamin D with light. And that's something that our bodies will make. It's one of the vitamins that our bodies will make. And vitamin D is actually a pro-hormone. It's not really a vitamin, but we call it a vitamin for ease, just a discussion. Now, most people have typically been told not to wear sunscreen. I have also been told not to wear sunscreen. I've had 2 small skin cancers removed. I'm still not going to wear sunscreen. I typically will put coconut oil on my body, and that keeps some of the harmful UVB rays out, keeps me from burning, but it does still allow for the UVA rays to get in and do its thing. What the problem is with sunscreen is typically, number one, it is a chemical barrier. So it's a chemical blocker to the rays of the sun, penetrates below the skin, chemically blocks the rays. But there are also cancer-causing chemicals in sunscreen that actually cause skin cancer instead of preventing it. That is a problem. Now, there are some safer sunscreens to use, and if you are using one that contains avobenzone or octinsolate. There's 3 or 4 that are really not healthy to be using and will cause skin cancer. If you're going to use a sunscreen because you're going to burn, we typically don't want to burn. We want to just get pink. And once we get pink, we should be getting out of the sun. Now, the best time to really get rays that are usable is around noon to 1, or when your shadow is the shortest. But that's also the time when you're more likely to burn. So giving maybe 10 or 15 minutes of exposure, covering up. Waiting 15 minutes, 10 or 15 minutes of exposure, covering up. If you're a light-skinned person, you'll need less sunlight, as opposed to being a darker skinned person. Their dark skin causes the pigment and melanin to change slower, so they can actually tolerate more sunlight with less burning. But anyone that with black or dark skin knows you will still burn if you're out in the sun for too long. So if you need to use a sunscreen because you're going to be out for an extended period of time, the healthier suggestion would be to use one that contains a zinc oxide and or titanium based sunscreens. Zinc oxide, a plain zinc oxide sunscreen is the best. A lot of people don't like them because they tend to be a little thicker and white. They are a physical barrier as opposed to the chemicals, which are a chemical barrier to the sun. But they are definitely much safer and don't cause any real health challenges. Personally, I think the best thing is to just cover up. Get a big white t-shirt and cover your body. And don't let so much of your skin be affected and get burned. Most people, their hands, their legs typically will tan, but the body will burn, or the face will burn, or the neck will burn, ears. So cover up the things that are going to burn and make the best of it, unless you want to use a safer sunscreen like zinc. Now, AM sunlight to the retina, I really want to talk about that because that causes a chain reaction that starts a lot of bodily processes that are really beneficial. And by not getting AM sunlight in your retina, causes a lot of really bad switches to get turned on that in your DNA that start to cause health problems. So how does this really all work? Well, I'm going to be real basic about it because this can get extremely complicated. But basically, when we rolled out of the cave, we got sunlight to the retina. That starts a signal of DHA, which I'm sure you've heard of DHA and the importance of that for the brain. DHA is so extremely important. That starts another cascade of chain of cascade that flow into leptin, which I'll be talking about in a minute. And things start to regulate or dysregulate from that period on. And the important thing to know about that is if you're somebody who has a night shift job and you're coming home in the daylight and you're going to sleep and you're really not getting good sunlight to the eye and you're not getting that circadian rhythm that your body was meant to have, that leads to a lot of disease. I see a lot of young kids, they're working overnight shifts, and literally on their lunch hour, they are falling asleep at the table. And me, 3 times as old as they are, I'm running circles around them because I work with my circadian rhythms at all costs. If you have a job that puts you in a position where you're sleeping during the day and you're up at night, your health will be affected and you may want to consider looking into another job if you value your health. It is that important. Now, a lot of people get D3 levels tested and they come into me all the time because I work in a supplement area and they'll say, my D3 is low. My doctor said I need to take some D3. Well, I live in Florida and these people live in Florida. So there is no good reason for them not to be getting some kind of sunlight during the day. And that is the best way to get it. Now, I'm not saying don't take a D3 supplement. That is something you discuss with your doctor. If they tell you to take one, then I guess you should take one. But honestly, we really ideally want to get it from the sun. And the reason for that is when we have a low D3 level, that signifies that our body is low in light energy. Okay, it's a very significant finding when your D3 is low. That light energy, those electrons, that gives us our life force. And if you see anybody, or you know anybody, or you are somebody whose D3 levels are low, you're probably feeling like crap. Your life force is being drained from your body because we're not getting the sun. Now, people up in northern climates, especially over the winter, come September, they don't get good daylight. And usually the recommendation is a safe tanning bed. Yes, there are some. There are some without the UVB rays. They only have the UVA rays. And you can get small bits of exposure. I know people who have them in their house because they need that exposure all year round to feel good. If you've ever heard of seasonal affective disorder, you know that when the light levels get low, people get sad, literally. They get depressed. They don't feel good. They get aches and pains. It's all tied together with that low light. That life force energy is being drained from our body. So it's really important to try to get sun if you can, even if you have to use a plant light, or they have reptile lights. We have one for the birds that provides natural light. Sit in front of that. You can get it all year round. It's going to make a huge difference in your health. And I did post a link to a website for Dr. Jack Kruse, www.jackkruse.com. And Dr. Kruse is a neuroscientist and a neurosurgeon, and he's probably one of the most brilliant people on the planet. But some of the stuff he says will melt your brain. It is so quantum that it's really most of the time even over my head, and I'm a geek. So it might be difficult to understand. So I'm kind of making it a little bit more simple for you. But if you do want to go to his website and learn a little bit more about how those things affect our bodies, you can go there. But I'm going to actually quote Dr. Kruse when I say that taking a vitamin D3 supplement is like having somebody else do push-ups for you. So really, you want your body to do the making. That's the way it should be. It's the right way to do it. We cannot duplicate it, the whole process exactly as our bodies would do it. So, it really is the best to try to get it from the sun or from light that is like the sun, and let your body do the work.